In today's lecture, I want to continue our exploration of the microbial world and think of the different ways that microorganisms can affect us. We can think of these effects as the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, let's take a look at the good. You owe your life to a virus, not just you, but all humans, and most of the mammals alive today. You began in a sac inside your mother's body. That sac is a familiar and well-known placenta that acts as an incubator, shock absorber, and food delivery system all in one. The group of mammals that evolved this handy system are called the placental mammals. You can think of an opposite arrangement being the marsupials, like kangaroos and koala bears, who stick their embryo-like offspring in pouches outside their body, from where they must clamber through forests of fur to find milk. Clearly, the incubated shock absorber with food on tap is a better arrangement. As an embryo, your nutrients were delivered through a narrow layer of cells called a syncytiotrophoblast, which lay between the placenta and your mother's uterus. To make such a food delivery system, the mother required a gene to express a protein called syncytin. It turns out that that gene is not human, but rather a long ago domesticated virus which now sits in the human genome producing this vital ingredient. Sometime in our evolutionary history, a virus became embedded in the human genome. Certain viruses, called retroviruses, have the ability to insert themselves into our DNA. HIV responsible for AIDS is an example of such. Mostly, the retroviruses infect body cells, called the somatic lines. But sometimes, these retroviruses get into eggs, which we call the germline. Once fertilized, these eggs give rise to whole bodies, so that the virus is now in all the cells of the body. It is now called an endogenous retrovirus. Over time, the virus becomes part of our genome. Imagine the surprise of the scientific community as we began large sequencing projects such as the Human Genome Project. And we realized that as much as 8% of our genome is viral in origin. In fact, the surprises don't stop there. In the months leading up to your birth, the ecological landscape that was your mother changed, and bacterial communities that are normally part of her gut migrated to her vagina. Why? Because as you were being born, assuming it was not a cesarean section, your mother inoculated you with billions of bacteria of many different species. What she was doing, albeit without knowing it, was the ultimate in probiotics, placing bacteria in your gut that would benefit you as you grew. Failure to seed you with microbes has costs. Increasingly, studies are showing how kids delivered by cesarean section lack important gut bacteria, leading to increased problems such as asthma and possibly even autism, although much more evidence is required to establish this. But your mother's efforts did not stop there. If you were breastfed, your mother spent 15 to 20% of the energy required to make the milk, not feeding you, but the bacteria she inoculated you with. Human mothers produce human milk oligosaccharides, or HMOs, which are completely indigestible by children. And the cost of producing these is 1/5 the cost of the milk. What these HMOs do is provide a growing surface for a special bacterium called Bifidobacterium longum subspecies infantis. These are good bacteria and can only grow when given HMOs. And the consequence of having these bacteria in your growing gut, we are now discovering, is a better immune system, less allergies, stronger bones, and higher IQ. Human mothers have evolved an evolutionary pact with bacteria to help their children grow healthy and strong. Breast really is best. What science has been discovering over the last 5 to 10 years is that our bodies are ecological landscapes for billions of bacteria. If you were to collect them all and weigh them, it would be around 3.5 to 5 pounds, 1.6 to 2.3 kilograms of bacteria. That is heavier than your brain. Bacteria living in and on your body outnumber your cells 10 to 1. The genes of bacteria outnumber human genes 200 to 1. The whole community is called the microbiome, and it promises to be one of the greatest and most exciting areas of scientific research in the coming years. Many surprises lie in store. For example, obesity is indeed a product of your genes, just not human genes, but the genes of the bacteria in your gut. Transferring bacteria from obese mice to skinny mice makes them fatter. And such discoveries are now not only being made for humans, of course. We are discovering that the ability of plants to avoid all manner of distresses like cold and heat relies on the virus inside. And also, insects fight nasty fungal diseases using bacterial partners that produce antibiotics on demand. Partnerships are a common theme in evolution. What about the bad microorganisms? Well, other lectures in this MOOC are chock full of nasty diseases from mumps to measles and anthrax to AIDS, so we need not dwell on them here. And the ugly? Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I'm rather charmed by the ways of parasites and microbial life, so I don't tend to think of them as ugly. But if I was going to think of ugly parasites, it would be the creeping, insidious fungal parasites such as tinea that cause ringworm, athlete's foot, and the wonderfully named Jock's itch. At the tender age of 8, I was half bald as this nasty fungus ate through my own scalp, earning me the nickname Kojak. So, from personal experience, I can attest that this is pretty ugly. So the good, the bad, the ugly. It comes down to this: how we classify the microorganisms that live with us and on us depends on the situation. The most benign microbe can kill you, as routinely happens with AIDS patients killed by fungi that a healthy immune system keeps at bay. Other parasites, such as the retroviruses, can become vital partners. It all depends on perspective. And as we learn more about the wonderful organisms sharing our spaces, we will better understand their roles.